Sam Mostyn. As we know, amongst other things, she was once upon a time an AFL commissioner. She's had experience in business, but she's also a gender activist, a climate activist. She's a former Labor staffer. She campaigned for the yes vote for the voice to Parliament. I don't know whether that was your phone going off over there. I don't know if anyone heard that, but it was the text message sound that would come off like an old Nokia or something. I'm the only person I reckon to be using that
look,
phone.
it was just pick up some milk on the way home. That's all it was.
All right, Mrs. Richards, thank you for tuning in today. But Kel, the decision is clearly a political one, and I'm not saying that this hasn't happened before, with Governors-General, but, I mean, come on.
There have been 4 political Governors-General in the past. There's been Bill Hayden, Richard... who do we have? I'm trying to remember that. Bill McKell, who was a former Labor Premier of New South Wales. Anyway, there were several of them. Paul Hasluck was one. 2 Liberal, 2 Labor that I could think of. The issue is not that she's political, that the people who were Labor or Liberal and who became Governors-General were centrists. They were a bit left of the centre or a bit right of centre. She has put in a lifetime as a hard left-winger, as a radical left-winger, which means she's not like them at all. It's a different kind of appointment. The problem's not her. I suspect she's a very professional woman. She will very cleverly know what to do. She will know how to deal with this and be neutral. But all of this is in the background. All of these things are on the record. We know about all the things that she said. The problem is Albanese's decision to appoint a hard left, severe left activist to this position.
And a Republican.
Yes,
I mean,
correct.
that's the part.
Always Republican.
That is the part that galls me.
Bill Hayden was a Republican, but Bill Hayden was a reasonable person.
This is the hypocrisy of the left. They'll condemn the monarchy. They don't like our form of government. They'll talk up Peter FitzSimons and what he did for the Republican movement. Hey, cushy job, nice house. I'm in. Forget what my value compass is. Forget what I believe in, what I support for our nation. Good job in it for me with a nice paycheck and a lot of ribbon cutting, I'm there. And I just find that if they had any truth, well, as I've always said about the left, they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any
at all. Yeah.
But here we are again.
You get the nice house and you get the nice pay packet. But Charlotte, I could not think of anything worse than having to shake all those hands incessantly you never get a weekend off. You're constantly working. In reality, unless there's a constitutional crisis, you're not doing a lot of serious work. I'd find it thoroughly boring.
Yes. Well, I think there's a few things here. So, first of all, I actually think Sam Mostyn is incredibly impressive as an individual. I would probably argue the point, I don't know that she's radical, but she's certainly left-leaning, and we know that. The one thing I think is that we have social media. Gone are the days where we will have Governor-Generals that won't have well-documented histories of their stances on things.
But she tried to scrub it. She deleted all of it.
No, I think that's conventional. I think you have to do that once you become GG.
And now
so she didn't just delete the problematic or questionable post. She just shut down her entire account.
She was doing what the protocol. Right. And I think also the thing here, anyone who's saying, she's left-leaning, she's going to be completely gagged in that role. She won't be able to say anything. She could be a politician. She could be a Labor politician going up against the Liberals, and that would almost be, should be a competitive politician. So in this role, at least, she's almost taken out of the game completely because she's not going to be advocating for anything.
I guess the question, though, Joe, is that if you were to have a constitutional crisis, and of course people are still dissecting what happened with John Kerr and Malcolm Fraser and Whitlam, John Kerr being a Whitlam appointee, by the way. But, people still bitch and moan about that and whether, he was on the take from the Liberal Party and all this sort of stuff. So if it comes down to it...
He was just on the grog.
If it comes down to it and you've got to make a big call like that, it's not unfair to question the politics of the person sitting in the GG.
No, it's not. But I agree with Charlotte, I have to say. I wouldn't consider her sort of radical left-wing or whatever. I would see her as a very typical kind of progressive, affluent, upper middle class, says all the right things. If anything, she's
That's
the
the
opposite.
illusion. That's the illusion. The idea is there's a hard right, but there's no hard left. That we keep talking about there's a hard right. The media love to talk about this, but there's no hard left. The hard left doesn't exist.
They're all
There's a hard
There is a hard left, and she's in it. She's in the hard left.
I would say some of those feminist groups are hard.
I reckon.
But she's not a Clementine Ford. She's not a CFMEU. She's just basically a pretty safe, I would say quite beige and boring a pair of hands. She's going to do everything right. She's going to make sure no one gets offended. And
Well, I think
again,
that
is almost a form of leftism and a form of progressivism.
She's typical of that. She's typical of that inner city left elite. She's the perfect woman for that kind of role.